Hey, I was having this great conversation with my coach, Chris, about what we do when we are waiting for that prayer to be answered. And so I'm just going to drop you in the middle of the conversation and you can get what we're talking about, and I'll see you on the other side.
It back to what do you do in the time that you're waiting?
That's a
Do
good
you don't
question.
really feel like you have an answer?
It reminds me of when I was teaching high school and high school English. One of the best classes I ever took um, on discipline. A lot of the students would ask the instructor, well, what would you do if this happened, and what would you do if that happened? And his constant response was, what were you doing just prior? What were you doing before that? Before somebody picked up a chair and threatened you with it. And these were all just general scenarios, not, or, possible scenarios, not that that had actually happened to somebody. And even though sometimes it does, I know. Anyway, what were you doing before that? Were you sitting at your desk? Were you just engaged with one student? Were you circulating around? Were you talking and, touching people on the shoulder and making contact with people? What were you doing prior? And so the question that I have for myself is, when something is going really wrong, what am I doing in the meantime? Am I praying? Am I searching for answers, not just in my own brain? Am I reading? Am I reading my Bible? Am I reading the educational books? Am I developing myself as a person? When the market was really bad in 2007, 2006, 2007, 2008, there were times when, and it's real estate is a cyclical business. There are times when there's a lot of stress, and maybe in the middle of the month, let's say the 15th, you don't have the funds to pay your mortgage on the 1st. Well, do I worry? Because, with real estate, you kind of know what's happening in the next 30 days, certainly in the next 3 weeks. So if it's down to 2 weeks and you don't have the money, what do you do? Well, there are certain things you can do in your day that you know that you need to do, but I can be sitting there at the dinner table on the 15th, not have the money for the mortgage on the 1st, but I have my family around me. I have my children around me. It's a sunny day, the birds are chirping. So if I am only looking at that worry and that anxiety, that gets bigger, and I'm missing the opportunity for relationship right in front of me. And I think that's where we have to remember that you pray, you give that to the Lord, and then you take a look at what's in front of you to move forward and to have relationship both with the people around you. And I think that's actually part of what allows me to have relationship with the Lord, is because I'm trusting him to take care of that. And he's saying he's big enough to take care of that. So let me do this. And you, Sandy, you go make dinner for your family, kiss and laugh with your kids, things like that.
So you're saying kind of when things get quiet. So let's say this pretty tangibly. I'm praying for something specific. Maybe
Right.
it's money, or it's healing, or it's something, right?
Right.
And in the 1 day to 6 months to 2 years
Right.
that I don't hear anything, you're sort of saying just continue to go about life as
Right.
you were before you were praying. Like what were you
Right.
doing before you started praying? I will keep doing that, and then just trust that God
Mm-hmm.
is working behind the scenes to pull that together.
Absolutely. Jesus talked a lot, or one of the biggest parables in the New Testament is the seeds. The sower sows the seeds. And what kind of seeds are we planting into our life? And are we planting those seeds and watering them and cultivating them and tending them? Because if we plant a seed and then dig it up 2 minutes later to see how it's growing, and then plant it back down and then dig it up the next day to see how it's growing, it's not going to grow. But if we water it, we continue doing what we know it's supposed to do, it's going to grow. So what kinds of seeds am I planting in my life? Because those are the seeds of gratitude, the seeds of joy, the seeds of peace. And I know some of these have to be choices that are not natural. I might be very stressed, but I have to choose to do the things that I know will give me peace.
So it's okay. That's interesting. So is it okay to keep asking? I mean, in your analogy of digging up the seed again, I like that. You know, it doesn't grow if you keep digging it up. But is it okay? But then that would be to say that I shouldn't keep asking.
Oh,
Is
no.
if I keep asking, is that like digging it up again every day,
Nope.
or?
Absolutely not. I think that you can keep asking and keep going to the Lord. I mean, he also gave the example of the story of the widow who was pounding on the judge's door at the middle of the night, you know, or the neighbor who had somebody come in and needed bread, and so he kept pounding on his neighbor's door, and it's like, if nothing else to shut him up, he's going to go get something, to take care of them. How much more the Lord who loves us is going to actually attend to us. Keep asking, but be asking in the joy and gratitude with the expectation that it has not only already happened, but will happen.
I think that's the hard part for people is
Mm-hmm.
we will want to ask, and we may even on the front end of asking have the faith or the belief that like
Right.
we could believe for that, like, oh, okay, it's going to happen. But then a
Uh-huh.
certain amount of time kicks in,
Yes.
and we're like, hey, it hasn't happened yet, and then it's not that, and then so we could keep praying just out of stubbornness of like, I'm going to keep asking for this, but
Right.
the sense of faith or the sense of feeling like it is going to happen, the conviction that it will happen has sort of faded away, and I'm
Right.
left with sort of bitterness and asking out of stubbornness and bitterness rather than out of faith and expectation.
And then you become the child having the temper tantrum versus the one that, that we really want to bless. And you know what? I think that's okay, Chris, because um, there are sometimes, okay, God created us, right? So
Yeah,
so he knows how he designed us. And if he designed us so that we have certain temperaments and flavors to our behaviors, he's going to know and be able to handle that. That's when we can have those hard conversations with God. And I know some people feel like that's a real disrespectful thing. I disagree. I think that he's big enough to handle that. And in my experience, when I start getting really upset with him, um, he reminds me to start doing the things that will make it better. Um, one of the things that I am reminded to do is to make sure of who I have around me, because sometimes I get low. I can't do this all the time myself. And I'm not very good at keeping that happy mask when I'm not feeling so happy inside. And so I know that there are people around me, both in my business life and in my personal life, that I go to when I need help shoring up that reassurance. My husband's awesome because he's the biggest cheerleader. And at the same time, when things get really stressful, he's like, yeah, we can keep asking, but hope deferred makes the heart sick, which is in Ecclesiastes. And you know what? Sometimes, Lord, we need it now. Okay, we need an answer, and God can handle that. And I think it's okay to be honest and say that we can't just be the happy Christian all day long for 20 years waiting. We're going to have some downtimes, and it's what we choose to do in those downtimes that also water those seeds. So, make sure that the people who are with you are ones who are going to help keep that spirit in the right place. One of the things my son said to me when things were really tough a couple years ago, he and Chloe were out leaving for the evening, and he knew I was going to be home alone and I was having a hard time. And he said, remember to turn your music on. Don't just sit here in the quiet. Turn your music on. And because he knew that music makes my heart happier.
hmm. I like that. It's a great analogy. I think sometimes I think we wait in silence for an
Mm-hmm.
answer, and the waiting it makes the waiting that much harder.
It does.
Um, what about this then? I think
Okay.
sometimes there are no answers. I
That's
mean,
true.
aren't there sometimes not every prayer is answered?
That's true.
Yes. I mean, Garth Brooks, I hear him in my head like saying, "I thank God for unanswered prayers," and
Yeah, I don't always. Um, I have to go back to what I really know that I know that I know. And what I know is God is faithful. God is love. and he loves me. He loves me so much. I mean, I think about what I would, who I would send my son to die for. Nobody. Because he's my son. I love him beyond words. But he loves me and you and everyone else so much that he sent his son to die for them. So I know that God loves me. He is faithful. And he is the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That is not going to change. And so, well, I lost my train of thought there a little bit, but we're talking about what if it's not answered?
Well, yeah, unanswered prayers.
I just have to go back to, okay, Lord, I know you have something for me. I don't know what it looks like. And this is my prayer. And if I'm on the wrong track, just show me. Please show me, because I need something from you and I need it. I need it now. And it might not be immediate, but I've always had that, at least within a day or two of feeling really down, maybe a week, I've got somebody coming into me and speaking something. We tweak a little something changes, and then I feel like I have hope again. The whole situation may not have been answered, but I know that I can keep going.
It seems like there's a I don't know what the word is, a flexibility or a softness to pliability to I'm asking, but I'm keeping my heart soft enough to be open to see other ways that this might unfold.
Right.
I think sometimes, I know I'm pretty stubborn, so when I go into certain things that I want, I go in with a very clear, this is what I want, and sometimes I think it makes me less pliable to seeing things unfold.
Right.
Right. Which kind of, I guess my question out of that would be why, so if there isn't going to be an answer, why pray at all?
Okay. Because I do think there is always an answer. But I do think it's a matter of listening for that different idea than yours. It's the idea of, either saying, Lord, bless me in what I'm doing, or Lord, let me see what you are doing so that I can jump into it and be in there. I mean, how much better to jump into the power of a river that's already running, right? Than to try to recreate it for yourself. And so if I'm not getting it, if I'm not getting an answer, and I was this way a little bit ago, I had some different things where I felt like, everything that started to come together, I go, okay, here we are. Thank you, Lord. And then it would go, and I had a series of business things go that way. And I was like, okay, Lord, it really comes down to, am I where you want me to be? Am I doing what you're asking me to do? And I have to look at that first. And if I can answer yes to that, if I really honestly feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then okay. If I'm not, then I start asking for, if I can usually feel something on my tug. If I've been ignoring something I'm supposed to do, whether it's maybe I'm not making my phone calls, maybe I'm making excuses, maybe I'm saying I'm too busy for something, I'm not talking to the number of people I need to talk with. Maybe if it's at home, I'm not finding a way to choose to spend the time at home with my loved ones. And so things are maybe just not quite smooth. I have to look at myself first. But it's not I can do all things that God has put in front of me all by myself. It's that I can do all things through Him, through Christ. And as long as I am making sure that I am Christ and I am together, it's not just the word together, it's that I'm on with Him, then I can do all things.
Do you have a sense of how long I should wait? If I'm waiting for an answer, how long should I wait?
I don't know. That's a funny question. I mean, it's a good question, but if you're feeling like you're waiting too long, I would say find a trusted friend. Find a friend who has the same heart that you're looking for, and talk with them about it. Get some mentorship, get some fresh energy on it. Talk to people. just find somebody who really has the heart of the Lord, the heart for you, and that you've given permission to speak truth into your life, and have that hard conversation and ask them if you're, barking up the wrong tree. That's what I would say. And then ask them to pray with you, not just for you, but with you. Because to be in agreement and it is a strong thing.
Do you have any final thoughts for people on what to do when you're waiting?
Life is such a journey, and I know that's kind of a cliche, but the reason we have cliches is because they work. Life is a journey. Where am I taking my steps right now? What activities am I doing all along the way? Who am I blessing? Where is my heart? Am I complaining? Ask people around you, am I complaining? Am I negative? Or am I in gratitude? Am I blessing the people around me? Am I taking the opportunities that are in front of me? Am I seeing them and using them to their best ability? And I think if we do that, our lives are always better. There are some really, really tough things. I mean, things that just hurt to think about. And I don't have all the answers for that. I just know that when I am doing these things, I am better able to handle the tough stuff that does land across my path. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you being with me on this.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I think these are the kind of things that we think about and we don't have answers for always.
Right.
But I think it's healthy and good to dig into it and have that conversation.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Good.
Have a good one, Chris.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. I hope you got something good out of that conversation that I had with Chris. Just walking my journey out with you. And my prayer for you is that anything that I've learned from, you can take and learn from as well. I would love to hear what you're doing to keep yourself strong when you are waiting for your prayers to be answered and when you are living out your life that sometimes doesn't always make sense. So thanks so much for joining me. God bless you and have an awesome day today.